welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and today in the arena we're going to turn it over to the spiky side of things. I stole this deck from Martin Yuza. Martin Yuza is a member of the Magic Pro League and is a very accomplished Magic player with a number of very successful finishes to his name, a resident pro, and one of the best to do it. He posted on Twitter that he made it to Mythic very quickly running this deck in best of 3, and he posted a few sideboards and some tips on playing the deck. Immediately the deck looks very different from things that I have seen, and it's a different kind of Simic Ghalta deck. It uses Frilled Mystic instead of some of the other counters. I have to be convinced, which is part of what this video is going to be. I haven't actually tried this deck yet, so you're going to see me getting a taste of it rather fresh on the ladder, hopefully going to Diamond today. We'll see. And I don't know what's up. This Departed deckhand I haven't seen in any other decks at all. I like that the 4-mana ability can make something like a Ghalta completely unblockable. That's very exciting. I don't know how a Spirit Pirate plays in the deck with an Elf Lizard Wizard and an Elf Knight and 4 unclaimed territories. If I don't have a blue source, am I supposed to name Spirit? If I have a Frilled Mystic and a Departed deckhand in my hand and one potential blue source, am I supposed to name Spirit and strand the Frilled Mystic forever? I don't know. I'm a little skeptical, but I'm curious to see how this goes. Also, the sideboard has some negates: Kroll Harpooner, Naturalized, Titanic Brawl, Thrash Threat, and Vivian Reed. I've seen this called Big Moist. I know some other people made different videos with this deck, and I'm still very partial to the version that Nerd Girl played at the Invitational, but I'm willing to be convinced. I want to see how the deck does, and we will go play a few games and see what happens. Primarily in the sideboard, I'm still learning what each card is for which, so it's hard for me to give you a guide right this minute. I think it's pretty obvious that Negate comes in against Esper and things of that nature, while Kroll Harpooner is probably very good against Mono Blue. Where Naturalize is good, we'll have to try to figure out. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a ton of enchantments and artifacts in the format, but I'm sure it's kind of a catch-all for problematic things like Ixalan's Binding. Titanic Brawl is another one where I'm not quite sure. I'm guessing that we want to play this with against like Thief of Sanity, right? Or some big flyer that just absolutely ruins us. We still don't have a good answer to a specific card that's a huge problem for the deck, Rekindling Phoenix. And there's nothing here in the sideboard to really address this birdie, this big old owl critter. Thrash Threat, you can only cast the green side, but it's basically a fight spell. And Vivian Reed, I imagine, comes in when Ferox comes out, when the opponent has plenty of ways to ignore a Nullhide Ferox. Let's go see what happens with the deck. I'm very curious how it will play, and let's have some fun. That hand looks really slow. I got a mulligan it. I can't. Oh my goodness, the hands. These hands are so bizarre. Do I want a Thrashing Brontodon here? I sort of have a 2-drop and then another 2-drop and then hopefully a 4-drop, so I'm going to bottom Bronto. More deckhands. Okay, we have to play the Guildgate because it enters tapped. We can shock for this to have a play next turn. And we'll see what our opponent plays. Dun, dun, dun. The Guildgates and how they change up the music is a little funky. I don't know if I'll ever quite be used to it, but the whimsical kind of merfolky ding 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 is particularly odd to me. It sounds like some kind of a Christmas special. Speaking of a Christmas special, opponent's taking a hot minute. That transition didn't make any sense. Don't worry, it doesn't have to. Well, we can play the Pelt Collector and not shock ourselves, and then next turn have a deckhand, Growth Chamber Guardian, something of that nature. I don't think it matters too much what we play here. Any particular threat is just going to be a 2/2 body. So I'm going to lead with the Pelt Collector. And so far, not great. Our opponent's given us that Grixis look. And they're passing turn. Well, if I'm going to get something countered, I'd rather it not be the Guardian. I'd rather save it till later so I can adapt it the same turn that I play it, which means one of these deck hands is into the fire. Here comes our boy. When it becomes the target of a spell, sacrifice it. The opponent decides to cast down the Pelt Collector immediately. My voice. What happened to my voice? And I'm back. Well, that's unfortunate. I guess we'll discard this card. Roar. I'm just letting it sink in for a few seconds here. Thank you for your bolus. Now remember, this cannot be blocked except by spirits, so in comes the damage. Then we'll play an elf and another deck hand to keep the unblockable damage coming. I think that's better than playing a guardian. Yeah, because then the damage just keeps on coming at the opponent. Frilled Mystic can protect if the opponent spends their turn, say, paying 2 and casting down the Ferox. Wow, was that a tempo shift. And game 1 in the bank. Alright, our opponent runs Bolus and Grixis, which makes me think that Vivian Reed's pretty good, but there's no way we're cutting the Ferox. And I think that Vivian Reed belongs in games where the Ferox is not. Still, getting 1 or 2 of these doesn't sound like the worst idea. What else? So, do we want to negate our opponent in this matchup? It's a good question. As I'm learning this whole deck, I feel like there's going to be some stumbling. I also feel like Thief of Sanity will come in, so I should hedge pretty hard against that card. But I don't want specific removal like Titanic Brawl, so what can come out? I think Pelt Collector forces me to play into the board quite a bit, making it not ideal, and I don't know where Brontodon, what it removes. Enchantments, Artifacts, I don't think I'll come across any I'm afraid of. If our opponent plays Disinformation Campaign, they're going to sub that out anyway. Another card that forces me to play to the board a bit too much is Galta the Primal Hunger, so trimming on that doesn't sound like a terrible idea. With so many blue spells, I think it makes sense to trim at least one of these departed deck hands as good as they were in the first game, and maybe I should trim more. Yeah, now that I brought in some Harpooners, I think I can trim more. And in that case, let's go all the way down to 0 and let's trim one of the Pelt Collectors. It's another card that forces me to play into the board a bit much. And I think we can try something like this. It is a bit more threat light, and I may have just skewered the deck with my ineptitude, but we'll give it a shot. If we go to a game 3, we'll be on the play, and I'll trim the deck down to the most tempo-y, aggressive version. This version is designed to go a little bit longer in the game, and when you're on the draw, you should expect that. Let's keep. So the question here is, do I Pelt Collector on 1? Or do I Llanowar Elf? Llanowar Elf is usually really good. Maybe this is a matchup I should have cut the Elf because of sweepers and things of that nature. But I think I'll get really aggressive and play the fish style game where we just play 2 or 3 creatures and try to protect them for the rest of the game. Ooh, that's a good one. That is a creature I love to play here. The opponent missing a black source so far. That's a big deal. And they hit it and they pay 2 life for it. Well, do I need to pay 2 life for this? At some point I do, but I like having the Growth Chamber Guardian activation available immediately, and let's get going. Now the trick is, we do not want to activate our Growth Chamber Guardian at a time when the opponent could remove our Growth Chamber Guardian. We've seen Cast Down, so we have to play carefully against that, but it's sort of like I'm just not going to activate it. I'm just going to pass the turn and make the opponent eventually do something about this, and when they do, I can activate it in response and have another Guardian. And the opponent says no. I think they see what's up, that I'm just going to play games with them and not activate the Guardian until it's targeted, and they're out of here. They are running. That was a bloodbath. Okay, that's a hand. Yeah, where's my keep button? We need to draw green because of the steel leaf, but I'll take it. I'll take it all day. And we have to lead on breeding pool right now, so that we go pelt collector into dockhand into maybe steel leaf. I have to feel that island though, if we don't draw another green source. On the bright side, if we don't draw another green source, hopefully we draw other spells we can cast. Another watery grave. Well, isn't that just the flavor of the month? Bring on the pelt collector. We drew the forest, so it's off to the races with an awesome 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll see if our opponent is up to answering it. And we'll see what watery grave means. Is this going to be Esper? Are we going to get Kaya's Wrath? Okay, Sultai. Sultai is an interesting one, I'm sure. Pretty much any creature deck is a pretty big headache. Let's get out the unblockable creature first. And I don't want to attack with the pelt collector, because I don't want to trade it. It can grow up to a 3/3 next turn, and then even bigger if the opponent kills the champion. That's obnoxious. Would you like to pick the Nullhide Ferox, possibly? Please pick Nullhide Ferox. Please pick Nullhide Ferox. This one. You want this one. Takes the Growth Chamber Guardian. That implies a Chupacabra, I think. The opponent's going to try to outgrind us. So if this isn't going to block, it may as well attack. If I'm the opponent, I'm probably attacking here because you know my next play. But maybe you do plan to chump block. I don't know. Bring it on down. We play it before combat to grow the pelt collector and get busy. The opponent's going to try to block our departed deckhand. They're going to fail. Yeah, that doesn't work that way. Cannot be blocked except by spirits. Now, on that crucial turn where we think this is unblockable and the opponent does have a spirit, you might see me tilt. But until that day, we'll just keep confusing people with our sick departed deckhand beats. Oh yeah, they're reading that one again. It's a pile of damage in a card. Not really. It's a grizzly bear. There's the cast down. Down goes Steel Leaf Champion. Up goes Pelt Collector. Trample engaged. The opponent with a tapped land though. And now they're attacking. So, ooh. It's too bad I can't play this Pelt Collector and this champion because of the island. So should I play the Ferox? I think that the Ferox is where it's at. 2 turntables and a microphone. I can make it unblockable with the deckhand. So let's do it. More damage. And if the opponent kills it, the Pelt Collector is a lethal threat on its own. So they have to get rid of the deckhand and they have to somehow stop these creatures. Read it again. Yeah, it's a weird card that nobody ever plays in standard, but here we are. Departedly Smashing Face. So I got to, the designer of this deck, Mon-Thurs, I don't know if he designed it. He may have gotten it elsewhere, but he put it on Twitter, and that's where I found it. But I met him at the Mythic Invitational, and I have to say he was a very, very nice person. He was exceedingly kind to me, and not knowing like really who I am, I'm pretty much a nobody to the MPL, the Pro League. That wasn't always the case. A lot of people ignored me quite a bit, but he did not. And I want to just give a quick shout out that he's a genuinely good person. Super cool person. And I'm glad that I got to meet him. And thanks for this deck. Beating up Sultai. Not a bad thing at all. Using that ability from the deckhand to get the damage in. So, against Sultai, what do we do? The opponent played Thought Erasure. That could mean they play Thief of Sanity. It's so hard to be sure though. Whenever I think that it might be Thief of Sanity, I'm tempted to hedge with Kroll Harpooner, but it's such a bad card against Sultai otherwise. And the rest of our opponent's deck did look like classic Sultai. So I think what I will do is bring in the Vivian Reed. I don't know if Nullhide Ferox really belongs, but I don't think I need a Thrashing Brontodon. I don't think we'll run into anything like that. And I'm tempted to trim the Kroll Harpooner because it's really bad against the Sultai deck, except for Hydroid Grixis. Titanic Brawl or Thrash Threat might help us blast through some larger creatures, and the Sultai deck has some removal. Maybe we do want these because of cards like Hostage Taker, which blowing those up can be a pretty big swing. Frilled Mystic can be a little bit slow in the matchup. I think this is definitely where we want deck hands. Growth Chamber Guardians, Llanowar Elves makes a ton of sense to me. Ghalta is very strong, as they have trouble sweeping the board. So everything else is looking pretty nice, but I'm not cutting the Ferox. So I think maybe Vivian Reed should be trimmed. So we'll go with that. And maybe this deck will do? Alright. Let's go get him. Okay, we need to draw in-betweens. So we have a turn 1 Pelt Collector. We need to draw like a Growth Chamber Guardian, a Steel Leaf Champion. I'm going to try it, but this hand might not do enough. We'll have to be fortunate. Okay. Ah, perfect. Let's do this. Let's do this. The Return of the Banshee. Draws a land once again, so it will be quick, like we can quickly get over the Banshee if we draw a 3-drop. But I'm not attacking with the Pelt Collector yet. Let's try to make it a much bigger threat. If I could get this Ghalta out of my hand, our opponent might have to pick Nullhide Ferox with Thought Erasure, although they may have taken that card out. Here's Wild Growth Walker, and the opponent keeps it, implying that they have more Explore creatures in their hand. If the opponent attacks, there's no way I really want to block. We may have to take a bit of a beating here for a few turns, which is unfortunate, but then our opponent will have to deal with the Ferox Eye. What's plural for Ferox? It has to be Feroxes, but you know me. I really like to mess with you all on the whole plurals. Phenai and Wild Growth Walkerez. I don't know. I just like saying goofy things. Vivian, well, that doesn't play with the Ferox, but the opponent will have to deal with it. Let's get in there. The opponent's going to surely grow that Wild Growth Walker. They must have another Jade Light or something, but if they're doing that, they're not killing the Ferox, which is why I feel very fine leaving it back to do some defending. Five mana, what do you have? Nothing. So perhaps a cast down? Would I want to trade a Pelt Collector? Probably not. Cast down would make this a 4. Let's go ahead and make it even bigger than that. Our opponent with open mana, they could have a Vraska's Contempt or something like that though. It's possible I want to draw that out on things like the Feroxes first. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If the opponent blocks with all this stuff, it's not very good for me. But I still think we'll go like this. Double duty. And hold off on the Ghalta. I don't think they'll kill both of them over the next turn cycle. Then we'll also hold back the Pelt Collector because it will keep getting bigger. And we'll offer these in combat. Cast down on the deckhand. Not the Ferox. Interesting. The opponent goes for a double block. My Pelt Collector will go to 5. And that's what they're going to do. So the cast down could not have targeted the Ghalta. I was really hoping, and maybe we'll still see it, a Vraska's Contempt or something like that that we can pull out of them. They have the mana here. They can Chupacabra or Contempt the Ferox, but instead they Hydroid Crassus. Alright. Got some very, very big creatures though. The opponent's going to still have a very hard time. And if they kill the Ferox, Vivian Reed can come down and take out the Crassus. Well, now Vivian Reed... No, Vivian Reed can't come down anyway. So, do we lead here, make this a 6 attack with both, and the opponent doesn't have good blocks? Hell yeah, we do. They're moving in herds. They do move in herds. Let's go. Chumping with the wild growth that they kept on top is awkward. That has trample. Interesting attempt to preserve life total. Does the deck have a sweeper? If they do, I suppose I should hold the wild growth walker, even though I'm not sure what I'm holding it for. I said wild growth walker, I mean growth chamber guardian, but I'm going to hold it back in case the opponent does indeed have some board effect that I can't think of right now. Vraska's Contempt, take out your Galta the Primal Hunger. Yep. So that's still a lot of damage though. If I had played the Guardian, I would have a lethal attack here, so that's a case for maybe I'm a big dummy. Especially when our opponent plays cards like... What was I thinking of? Thought Erasure. So I could have also played the Vivian Reed, but I don't want to take the shields off the Ferox in case our opponent does have a cast down that they mean to cast. So if I remove the Hexproof myself, the opponent could cast down my Ferox, which I think gives them an angle, like a Chupacabra then would allow them to be back in the game. Hostage Taker. What's your target? Pelt Collector? Interesting. That will do the job, at least to keep you alive for another turn. One card I'm trying to be careful of with my Growth Chamber Guardians is Finality, but maybe that won't be the long game. Alright, get bigger. Okay, the opponent without a cast down there means they basically don't have it. I should be clear to play Vivian Reed here if I decide to go that route. And we'll say my turn. Another unclaimed. Let's send in the creatures. The opponent does have to block both. Look at them clinging to life. We all know life can find a way. I don't have enough dinosaurs for Jurassic Park references, but that doesn't always stop me. Alright, let's activate Nullhide Ferox. Let's play Vivian Reed.
Meet my newest friend.
Another Guardian or land. I'll take the land. The Guardian can fetch the other Guardian. Therefore, I don't need to be grabbing it right this minute. Ritual of Soot. Okay, the opponent did board in a sweeper, but it won't save the opponent this time. At least not yet. There's a cast down on top. They need that to kill the Ferox. The beat goes on, but what will they do about the Growth Chamber Guardian? They will not be able to do anything about it. They know their last card isn't good enough, and they scoop it up. And hey, give me that diamond. We ballin' now, friends. Well, well, well. What an odd hand. And I don't think I can keep it. If this were a breeding pool or a forest, I would be seriously tempted, but I cannot. Okay, now it's a breeding pool with no second land. I'm going to try to scry one to the top though. God, this is such a disaster. I don't think I can turn it away. It means that our start is going to be pitifully slow. But it's better than completely unfunctional, which is what never drawing a second and third land would be. Ugh. That's the mana base beatdown is what that is. I have a feeling this deck would have a pretty hard time in Best of One where everybody has great hands all the time, and that here in Best of Three where the hand smoothing algorithm is not a thing, it's a little bit better because people have awkward hands as often as you do. Green white. Opponent reading the deckhand. What the hell does this do? Common trend. I don't blame them. I would read it too. Some people think when I say they're reading the card that I'm being snarky. I'm not above being snarky, but there's nothing wrong with reading the card. It's very important. I wish more people who left me comments read the cards. Splendo Angel. Well, the Kroll can deal with that, but it doesn't have to deal with it right now. But if Lyra comes down next turn and this like does its thing, that's so bad for me. So we have to ask, how good is our opponent's hand? How great is their draw? I think if I don't get another Steel Leaf on the battlefield, I'm just not providing enough of a clock to compete with a Green-White Angels type list. So I'm going to risk our opponent having the turn 4 Lyra and completely wrecking me here, because I think that's the right thing to do. Oops. My bad, everybody. Double Harpooner? That won't do anything because we don't have creatures in the graveyard. Now, if the opponent blocks the champion and kills it, and I give them 5 freaking life, I can Harpoon the Angel. God, that's bad. But I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. And the opponent will probably know something's up. It's all about getting the Steel Leaf champion in the graveyard so I can kill the angel before it makes like 10 more angels. Crap. Well, now there will be a bonus angel regardless. Do I want a Harpooner that I can then block with, put in the graveyard, so that another Harpooner... it's so bad. Everything about it is bad. But if we draw another land, we could do like a cascade of Harpooners where we kill this angel. Yeah, that's the play. Next turn, draw an extra land. Have the opponent block one of the champions. It goes to the graveyard. I play Harpooner to kill angel and Harpooner to kill other angel. And if the opponent has nothing else, like, and I mean nothing else, maybe there's a chance. But it looks like the opponent will have something else here at least, because they didn't pump their angel with their extra mana. Oh. Well, if that's all they're gonna do. Okay. Okay. Get wrecked. There's the land. In we go. It's not gonna work out though, because there's another Resplendent Angel now. I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. All right, let's take that action. Just to show kind of some of what we do here. It's not really I shouldn't even be doing this because it gives my opponent information, but I wanted to show you at least what I had in mind and the play I was going to make, but the opponent's extra angel ruined it. And we can hit the road, Jack. And don't us come back no more. All right, we need to take out the flyers. So I think this is certainly a time where we bring in the Titanic Brawls, the Krull Harpooners, and the Vivian Reeds. I think that means we take the Feroxes out of the deck because they'll keep us from playing these spells. The deckhand still seems like it gets in there, which is very important. Pelt Collector grows with Harpooners pretty often, which is good. I'm not sure what Thrashing Brontodon hits, but there might be some Ixalan's Binding or something like that. We're on the play, which makes Frilled Mystic very good. But I still need to cut some cards, and I'm really unsure of what they should be. Part of me says Growth Chamber Guardian will be too slow, but it's one of our card advantage engines and one of the only ones. The deckhand still feels pretty good for at least getting damage through. But maybe we don't need it. If we're trying to kill all the angels anyway, maybe it's a bit much. It's pretty tough. I think we'll trim a Galta, as much as I love them. Yeah, I think the Brontos can come out too, because high toughness, like that big booty on the ground, isn't that important. Maybe we can go down to 3 deckhands. Maybe that's reasonable. I wonder if 3 Growth Chamber Guardians is reasonable. Because we did add in more Harpooners, so we have more 2-drops than we had before. Alright. Let's roll. Now we're going for the tempo style. This matchup can't be the greatest. It doesn't feel like it could be. I haven't played against Green-White Angels hardly at all in quite a while. But you have to think those flyers have to be a pretty big problem. Our opponent's draw was also pretty gas, and I kind of let them have it. Anyway, we'll figure it out. We got turn 2 Steel Leaf, so this is a good hand. Pay that 2 life because we need 3 green sources, and roar. Let's get busy. We also have to wonder if our opponent will board in stuff like Settle the Wreckage, but Frilled Mystic could be really good against that. Ouch. Ouch. Oomph. That feels bad. Alright. So I like getting these 2 elves online rather than playing the Growth Chamber Guardian here. I want to play it and activate it the same turn. I don't want to lose it to another Baffling End. Maybe I'm being a bit too conservative here, but a Growth Chamber Guardian with Titanic Brawl is probably our best chance now. And here is a Wild Growth Walker. Let's go ahead and get this down. I think we can kill this now, but we can also do it at instant speed. So let's pass turn. The way that Titanic Brawl works is it costs 1 less to cast if it targets a creature with a counter on it. So we can add a counter to it, like right now. Take the action, go search for another Guardian, and then this only costs 1, and it is an instant, so we can use it right here, right now, to take out the Wild Growth Walker before the opponent gets to gain that life and increase its size. Jade Light Ranger's on top. Does the opponent like their Jade Light Ranger? They do. And they have a land. Ooh, Frilled Mystic. That's good for keeping something large out of our hair. Let's send in the Growth Chamber Guardian. And I'm going to use green mana from the elves to play the Guardian just in case the opponent has some way to mess with multiple elves. I don't know what it would be, but I often want, like, I don't view this as permanent mana. I hate leaving it available like that. All right, that's a counter. Because if the opponent has any removal spell, they can mess with when I could play something like a Frilled Mystic, if it was what I had up to cast it. All right, let's collect some pelts. This thing is about to get really serious. We can go ahead and trade away the Frilled Mystic because, well, it's going to grow the Pelt Collector anyway. And let's get some extra damage in with the Guardian. So our opponent's shown us Baffling End, and they kept their Wild Growth Walker package. Just things I'm thinking about potentially for the next game. Now, do they run like a Wrath of God? If they play a Jade Light here and grow it, they would have 2 creatures. They could block here and here. They could be at 13 if they have a Wild Growth Walker. If I have another one of these, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think it's quite enough. This is our last Guardian, though. I'm going to go ahead and play it out. If the opponent boarded in Cleansing Nova, ouch. Rip. Alright, that's a Jade Light without a Wild Growth Walker. They show a Conclave Tribunal. So they definitely have a few enchantments. It might make sense to get Naturalize and Brontodon back into the deck. And they boarded in Night of Autumn, or they play Night of Autumn. Interesting. So they're at 11. If I grow this and they block here and here, they take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're not quite dead. If I play the Harpooner, they take 10. And that's still not quite dead. And I also feel like I should hold it because Lyra is still a big deal. Decisions. I believe I'll send with what I have. I don't think the difference between 1 life and 2 life is going to matter. The opponent can't block on the Pelt Collector. They have to chump away somewhere. And there they go. Kind of interesting. Let's grow the Growth Chamber Guardian. No more. Down to 2. Simic Gilgate go. The opponent still playing it could also imply that they have a Wrath, but they could also be playing it out to show that they might have a Wrath for next game. Mind games are fun. Alright, on the draw. We've seen Conclave Tribunal, so I like getting these back in the game. We're a little bit slower, so I don't like the Growth Chamber Guardians nearly as much on the draw because they just, like, the opponent just plays angels that are too big and things like that. But without them, we don't have many things with +1/+1 counters for Titanic Brawl. So maybe we're supposed to cut the brawls as good as it was just now. Life's full of tough choices, isn't it? Frilled Mystic is probably going to be a little bit slow now. I still don't like the Brontodon. I think Naturalize will be better for taking out like a Baffling End and things like that at instant speed, instead of the clunky, more mana way of doing it. How about the Deckhand? Still feels like there's a really good way to sneak damage through. We didn't see the Angel package, but we know they're in there. I could cut the Frilled Mystics entirely, as good as they can be. Holding them up at this point, the opponent I think will play around it anyway. So there's something to be said for completely just chopping them out of the system and keeping our smaller drops. Especially on the draw, it's really just a much slower card. All right, let's try this. If the opponent is relying on enchantments like Conclave Tribunal to deal with our Ghalta, we can naturalize it, potentially, which is sort of like our Frilled Mystic for the situation. Well, I'll keep it. We're going to need to draw some land off the top, though. Our opponent might have a Baffling End for this Llanowar Elf, which would damage my soul. Let's make them have it, though. Okay, they missed, but so did I. Let's get the Growth Chamber Guardian down. Land off the top can sort of get us off to the races. Maybe it should have been Pelt Collector, since a land off the top would likely be a Steel Leaf champion for me anyway. Jade Light revealing Jade Light. To the bin. And an Incubation Druid? How about you? Thinking about it. Also to the bin. Land. Hallelujah. We've got a chance. Alright, Steel Leaf, get down here. Then hopefully next turn we can play Pelt Collector and thrash away the Jade Light Ranger and get in there, although it will depend. It does what our opponent has next. It's another Jade Light. Hopefully you hit land this time, or maybe I don't want them to. Wildgrowth Walker to the bin, meaning they're out of Explore cards. The real question I have here is there another land in this hand? Okay, there is. If they were stuck on land, I wouldn't feel so bad. Alright. Pelt Collector. So, do we thrash away some of these Jade Lights? I think we do. But we're almost to Ghalta next turn. Still, if this dies, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I should probably just get my Ghalta ready. Play this nice and slow. Let the opponent have their turn, have their gummy board, so I can Ghalta them. Also harpoon away their Angel, maybe. If they have a Lyra, I can thrash it. That's pretty darn great against a Lyra. The opponent's gonna think about it. They know about Titanic Brawl, but that's a fight effect. They didn't see the thrash threat, and there it is. And holy crap. Well, let's see if they attack. Let's let them possibly declare their attack step first. They are attacking. Yes. That's exactly what we wanted. No blocks. That gives them much less defense for next turn. Alright, let's figure this out. I think it's best to thrash this away. The Crawl Harpooners won't deal with this anytime soon. So, what do we want to deal damage? Here's the creature I control. Here's the creature that's going to die. And it's not even a fight effect. The opponent doesn't gain the life. So that is a tilt, probably. Let's grow the Guardian and then play the Ghalta. Because it reduces the Ghalta's cost to 2, so we can cast it here. And then we'll attack with our creatures after we play the Ghalta, so that the opponent blocking can't change that the Ghalta comes down. Because if we go under enough power to play it, then we can't cast it. So that's why we cast it before combat. Alright, the opponent needs a big turn. They do have a Tribunal, so that will take Ghalta off the board. We'll be looking for that Naturalize. Unclaimed territory. I still like holding back the Harpooners. I mean, I could play one to grow the Pelt Collector. Our opponent's at 16. That's not the worst. They're going to block the Growth Chamber Guardian though, and that will grow the Pelt Collector anyway, so let's get busy. The opponent can block the elf if they wish. I would rather have the 7 damage here. I'm trying to be the aggressor. They're thinking about blocking the Pelt Collector. I mean, I guess it's a 4/4 either way, but this one would have trample. But they take 1 more damage now, is the trade-off. Let's go with an elf. And let's use it now. Just in case the opponent has something instant speed I'm not thinking of to interact with it on their turn. And they are scooping it up. The comeback against Green-White Angels. Yes. Well, I certainly enjoyed the deck. It does things a little better than I expected. I didn't quite anticipate how good Deckhand would be, or the fight effects. Frilled Mystic showed up here and there and had huge impact. And of course, Nullhide Ferox, Steel Leaf Champion, and Galta are some of the biggest things going on. It was really fun to get into Diamond. I'm excited to see where we can go to next. And yeah, I like the deck. You should give it a try if you've got the wild cards, got the time, and want to try a different ladder strategy late in the season. So, a quick shout out to Flipside Gaming. The War of the Spark box giveaway is going on. You can win an entire booster box of War of the Spark if you use the promo code CGB on a purchase of $10 or greater on flipsidegaming.com between now and May 6th. And when you do that, you support the channel at the same time. You can use that code to pre-order Modern Horizons or War of the Spark, some really great cards coming up, or get yourself some Dragon Shield sleeves and some other really nice supplies for your upcoming gaming adventures. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, or leave a comment. You can also support the channel on Patreon for special perks. Links are in the description. Our sponsors are HauntedFlower.com and FlipsideGaming.com. Haunted Flower sells officially licensed MTG apparel and accessories, and Flipside Gaming sells MTG cards and supplies. You can save 10% on either site with the promo code CGB, and it supports the channel at the same time. See you next time for another day in the arena. For now, it's me, it's CGB, signing out.